Jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste and good morning, everybody. We are here for a special session which we call Ask Swami. In this, what we do is we have all these questions from all over the world, large numbers of questions which come in, and writing back was never a very effective way of dealing with the questions. Nobody's ever satisfied with a few lines on email. It's much better to discuss it, and this way it gets preserved online also. Unfortunately, we cannot deal with we cannot take up all the questions. There are literally thousands of questions. We take up only a representative sample, and our brave team they go through this the email over months, and they select some and present it in these sessions. We try to have one per month. So Diane has the questions for today, but what we do is we interweave it with questions from the live audience. So you are here, you've braved the miserable weather to come here, and we have hundreds of people joining us online also. So people here, we'll take some questions from the online audience first, and then I'll ask you to raise your hands. When you raise your hands, I'll call upon you, come up here, tell us your name and ask the question. All right. Diane, what do we have today?
Good morning, Swamiji.
I can hear it. Maybe it's pull it a little closer to you. I think they can't hear it.
Hello?
Is it on?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello, everybody. The first question is from Tom Hay in Asheville, North Carolina. He says, I'm a teacher of yoga and start every class by reciting the first 3 Patanjali Yoga Sutras as our reason for coming together to practice yoga. But if I do not believe in an all-powerful, all-knowing God, and one of the 3 essential practices is dedication to God, then am I bound to fail in my spiritual pursuit of true liberation? Can atheists achieve enlightenment?
All right, an important question. So he starts the yoga practice by chanting the first 3 sutras from the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which is a very good way of starting a session on yoga. Atha yoga anushasanam, hence a practice of yoga, the training in yoga. Anushasanam, the training in yoga, hence the teaching about yoga. The next question will be, what is yoga? Yogaschitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the movements of the mind. Stilling the minds is yoga. But what will happen if you still the mind, if you can successfully deeply quieten the mind for a prolonged period of time. This is what is called samadhi in yoga. The third sutra which he chants is Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Then the witness consciousness remains in its real nature. Because what happens is, when the mind is active, thoughts are there, feelings are there, emotions are there, desires are there, cognition is there, then the consciousness, the witness consciousness gets identified with that, which is what is happening to us all the time. If the mind is restless, I am very restless today. If there's anger in the mind, I feel mad at you. We don't say that I am witnessing a movement of anger in the mind. No, that would be weird. It sounds more like a stand-up comedian. We say, I am mad at you. What has happened is the fourth sutra, which he does not chant, the fourth sutra is Vritti Sarupya Mitaratra. If you do not still the mind, if the mind is not in the state of Nirodha, Samadhi, then whatever movements happen in the mind, the witness consciousness gets identified with it. And we feel, I am thinking that, I am feeling that. That becomes my reality, which is our day-to-day reality. So the first three sutras, to notice ourselves, to realize ourselves as this witness consciousness, not body, not mind. I am Sakshi, Purusha, consciousness. So this is the whole purpose of Patanjali Yoga. Now he asks a question there. One of the key practices for yoga is called Ishvara Pranidhana. Dedication to God, surrender to God, worship of God. Which is now, this is a problem for me. I don't believe in God. I really don't think such a God exists. Now here the answer must be a little nuanced. First of all, there is this peculiarity. The God that yoga philosophy, Patanjali talks about, is not quite what we understand by God. What do we understand by God? By we, I mean all theistic religions in the world. Various traditions of Hinduism and Christianity and Islam and Judaism and Zoroastrianism. All of these traditions which believe in God, one common characteristic of God is that God is the reality, the power behind this universe, is the creator, preserver, destroyer, at least the creator God. Everything here has been created by God. God is the source of all things. God is the first cause. That's not the God Patanjali believes in. According to Patanjali, that sort of God isn't there. The source of all creation is Prakriti, is nature itself. Unmanifest nature becomes manifest. That is what is called creation. And God really doesn't have much to do with it. God is present, but Prakriti creates this universe. So the God that we find in Yoga Sutras, that has just about all the characteristics of God except that it's not the creator of the universe. The God that we find in Yoga Sutras is like another Purusha Vishesha, is a special kind of consciousness which is ever perfected. It's not like us, which has to go through this process of discovering itself and becoming enlightened. It's ever perfected, ever free, and has the capacities of omniscience and all of that. So yes, in some ways the God we believe in some ways not the God we believe in. So that's one nuance we have to add there. But suppose someone says, I don't believe in God at all. The disadvantage there is, as one sadhu said, bahut bada sahara hai. It's a great, great support. If you believe in God, God is a great, great support. Not that if you believe in God, God becomes a support. God is a support anyway, whether we believe in it or not. But if you believe in it, you connect to it. You can depend upon it. You get benefit from it. We get benefit from it. Psychological benefit from it. Also material benefit from it. Suppose we don't believe in it, then we will not have faith, we will not worship, we will not connect, we will not pray, we will not ask for help. So that advantage is lost, that's all. But without that advantage, can one become enlightened? Technically, yes. The sister philosophy of Yoga Sutras, Sankhya, does not talk about God at all. The difference between Sankhya and Yoga, one of the differences, major difference, the one major difference is the role played by God in the Yoga Sutras. God is accepted in the Yoga Sutras, this special kind of God, Purusha Vishesha, a special kind of conscious being. In Sankhya, it is not, they don't talk about it at all. In Sankhya, it is a process of analysis to see that I am the witness consciousness. So, to sum it up, pull it all together, can one become enlightened in the context of Yoga Sutras, in the context of Sankhya philosophy, which is the background philosophy for the Yoga Sutras, without depending on God? Yes, one can. Technically. Practically, different matter altogether. One needs help in this world. You are giving up a huge support if you do not believe in God. That's all. All right, next.
This question is from Krishnan Seshadri. The body-mind complex is said to be inert or jada and is only enlivened by the reflected consciousness. If so, how is this inert substance able to generate thoughts?
Straight answer is the thoughts are also inert. What is meant by this is, see, the word inert is it's a close English approximation of the Sanskrit word jada. And the jada also is used in a special sense in philosophy. Normally, even in Indian languages, when you say jada, it means something immobile, something like a rock maybe. But technically in Vedanta, in Sankhya, the word jada means an object. That which is not conscious, that which is not sentient. So inert is a close, when I say inert, I'm reminded of, I don't know how many of you would have seen, there was this British BBC serial, Yes Minister. Very, very humorous. It used to be on Indian television, one of the few English serials on Indian television. So I loved it. And it was about politics at the highest level in Whitehall, in England, in London. And the bureaucrats who ruled everything, who ran everything, they were all educated in the classics in Oxford and Cambridge. They had the least idea about science and technology, and they were not interested. That's superiority, that you're. So the discussion was going on. The minister is talking about gases. Some plant is there, industrial plant and gases, and it says inert gas. It will not react with any other substance. We all read, from school chemistry, we learned inert gas. And the bureaucrat, I think it was Sir Humphrey, he has no idea what an inert gas is. And the minister asks, do you know what you're talking about? You know, what does inert gas mean? What does inert mean? Inert means, he said, inert means it's not earth. What do you mean? It won't hurt a soul? Which is in a way correct, because it will not react with anything else. Anyway, that's British humor for you. But jada here means an object. Let us see it from our experience. What does jada mean, the word jada mean in Sanskrit and in Vedanta? In our experience, whatever you are aware of is an object, and that's jada. And that's a very interesting definition. Because you're aware of the table, then table is jada. We are aware of the clothes I'm wearing, it's jada. I am aware of the body. If I'm aware of the body, body is jada. Which becomes interesting because even in Indian languages, when you say jada, you generally don't mean a living body. You just mean non-living things, they're jada. A living creature is supposed to be chetana, conscious, sentient. But by this definition which we are using in Vedanta and Sankhya, anything you are aware of is jada. This is jada, this is jada. And even more startling and amazing, if you go inwards and look inwards, all of us, we have thoughts, we have emotions, we have feelings. But because we are aware of those thoughts, emotions and feelings, they are also jada. Which is not at all the way in day-to-day life the word jada is used, even in India. In fact, it's just the opposite. If you say thoughts and feelings, are they jada or not? No, people would say, no, that is sentient. And things in the world, physical things outside are jada. But according to this definition, if you are aware of it, it is jada. And the only thing that is not jada, if you go further, in our own experience, if we see, and you let go of whatever is jada. I'm aware of the external world, so let go. I'm aware of the body, let go. Let go means turn your attention away. You can't let go of the body. Don't let go. We have to call 911 otherwise. Turn my attention away from the body. The breath. Are you aware of the breath? That's how you do mindfulness meditation, vipassana. So it is jada. Then thoughts, emotions, memories are coming. Jada. Because you're aware of it. Even this technique which we are using, the understanding which we are using, intellect. But you're aware of that understanding, the functioning of the intellect, the higher mind. That's jada too. Let go. And if you let go of everything, suppose the world has disappeared, there's no world. Other people are not, just close your eyes. I'm not seeing anything, hearing anything, smelling, tasting, touching. Why am I doing this? They are jada, so I'm turning my attention away from the jada to discover what is not jada. And then I look at the body also, that is also jada. So I turn my attention away from the body. Suppose you are not aware of the body also, not aware of the world, you are not seeing anything, hearing, smelling, tasting. Try to simulate it in your mind. Not even aware of the bodily existence, suppose. Not even aware of emotions. No excitement, no boredom, no pain, no pleasure, no unhappiness, no delight. Just neutral. You are not aware of any memory. Suppose memory is also gone. Complete amnesia. You don't even remember my own name, where am I, what is all this. Everything is gone. Jada. Suppose. And then intellect also stops. No thinking, no understanding, nothing, just blank. Jada. Then that blankness also, I'm aware of the blankness. Drop that blankness also if you can. Jada. What remains is bare awareness or not aware of anything at all. You remain. It feels like nothing. You'll have to make the effort of dropping that nothing also. Then you will see its light only. But not an objective light, not a jada light. It's you. And that you is not jada. I don't know if that makes any sense. No? Some of you understand what is being pointed towards? It's a darkness, but it's also a luminous darkness because you are present there. You're just not aware of anything. There is no jada present to you, no object present to you. Now he says, the mind and the intellect, they are also jada. How do they generate thoughts? You can easily answer now. You'll say that those thoughts are also jada. One jada is generating another jada. What is important is the knower of those thoughts, the experiencer of those thoughts, the illuminer of those thoughts, you. You are not jada. Because you are not an object. Definition of jada, anything that's an object. Anything that you can be aware of. You are that which you are not aware of objectively. Careful here. If I'm not aware of it, then immediate consequence is, it's something that's unknown. There are lots of things which I don't know in this universe. I'm not aware of it. Not in that sense. It's other than the known, other than the unknown. Whatever I'm aware of is known, jada. But whatever I am not aware of, whatever I do not know, there are lots of things that I do not know. But if you knew them, would they be jada or not? They would be jada. So they are also in principle jada. All the known and all the unknown are jada, whether you know them or unknown, whether you know them or you do not know them. The one which knows, the one which is aware of all of that, in itself is not jada, because it cannot be objectified, and yet it exists. This is why we get confused at this point. Because it's not an objective existence, because it is not a jada existence, we think it doesn't exist. It exists very much so. You are it. You exist. That's one thing that nobody can doubt, my own existence. So, this ajada chaitanya, this consciousness, this awareness, which is not a this. That's the only thing which is not jada. Thoughts. Jada can generate thoughts. No problem at all. Vedanta has no problem at all with it. One jada thing is generating another jada thing. Mind is jada, generating thoughts. But the mind cannot generate you. If you have a question, hold on to that. I'll call upon you. Okay, so somebody is eager to ask a question. We'll move on to that. That's the answer. We'll move. The lady there, you have to come up here. You have to come up. Yeah. Tell us your name and ask the question. There. And then we'll take another question. The gentleman, will come and take it. Tell us your name and ask the question. Speak into the microphone.
So my name is Rohini, and what I wanted to understand is, so if everything is Jada, then we are basically Prakash, because what I understood from Kashmir Shaivism is that when you have both Prakash and Vimarsha, it is the Prakash that illuminates the Vimarsha, and then you have understanding. So when we are basically saying that if you only have Prakash, then there is no awareness, in which case then you are what it is. Is that what we're saying?
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there. So if we are only awareness, what Rohini, the word Rohini used was prakasha, which means light. We're just like light. Light illumines whatever comes in front of it. You see, like light is illumining this. Whatever comes in front of light is illumined. We are like that. Consciousness is like prakasha. But then she brought in another system of philosophy called Kashmiri Shaivism. Kashmiri Shaivism says, our nature is not just like light, it's prakasha, it is light definitely. Advaita, Vedanta, Sankhya, Yoga, they all say our nature is prakasha, light. You're light shining, that's it, what you are. But Kashmiri Shaivism says, that's not enough. That light has to be aware of itself. It's not just illumining everything else. It has to also be aware that I am. That awareness should be there. Otherwise, the Kashmiri Shaivites, they criticize Advaita by saying that your prakasha is as good as a rock because it does not know its own existence. So what they say is, the ultimate nature is not only prakasha, not only light, but self-aware light. This is called prakasha vimarsha. Vimarsha means the reflexive awareness that I am. Shiva is of the nature of awareness, light, but also aware that I am Shiva. Then you said something which you think you said is Kashmiri Shaivism, but actually Kashmiri Shaivism falls apart at that point. What you said is actually Advaita. You said, so I believe that this Vimarsha is illumined by the Prakasha. Those are the words you used, I remember.
That's what I understood.
If you understood that Vimarsha is illumined by Prakasha, the self-awareness is illumined by Prakasha, you understood right. That's what Advaita says. That's where Kashmiri Shaivism, I think, in my opinion, trips. If you say that Vimarsha is illumined by Prakasha, immediately that Vimarsha becomes Jada, becomes an object. Prakasha illumines the Vimarsha. Vimarsha means I am Shiva. If that I am Shiva experience is illumined by Prakasha, by consciousness, then that Vimarsha becomes Jada. It is no longer part of Prakasha anymore. It's an object. Therefore, the ultimate reality, let me finish. The ultimate reality remains as Prakasha, not as Vimarsha. What Advaita Vedanta says is this. Follow this carefully. Two-part answer. Advaita Vedanta says this Vimarsha, I am Shiva, is like I am Rohini. I am Sarvapriyananda. This is an activity of the mind. Can you do that? I am, at least I know I can't do it. I am Sarvapriyananda, I can't do it in deep sleep. Can you do it in deep sleep? But is Prakasha there in deep sleep? Yes. All these systems would say, Kashmiri Shaivism, Advaita, Sankhya, all would say in deep sleep, Prakasha is there. Consciousness is there, illumining the absence of everything. But you can't say, I am so and so. You can't do that in deep sleep. That reflexive awareness is not there. So pure, just follow your own experience. Track your own experience. So, that's one answer. that one part of the answer. This reflexive awareness, I am so and so. That is part of the mind, not part of pure consciousness, not an aspect of pure consciousness. It requires the mind to do that. Where I think where Advaita would disagree with Kashmiri Shaivism, or Kashmiri Shaivism would disagree with Advaita, they import a cognition of the mind into the ultimate reality. It requires the mind to make that judgment. All right. Now, what about the original criticism remains of Kashmiri Shaivism? Then your Prakasha is not self-aware. Then, for example, without body, mind, Prakasha would not be aware of itself at all. It's as good as a rock. When you say Prakasha illumines the world like light, but that illumination also depends on mind, senses and body. Through the mind, senses and body. By itself, it does not illumine anything. It does not illumine itself. It does not illumine anything. Your Prakasha is like a rock, like a table. It becomes almost like a jada. Even if it's consciousness, it has no feature of being conscious. The answer there in Advaita Vedanta is that what we call Swaprakasha, self-luminous. Self-luminous means like the light. So the light, to see anything in this room, suppose it's dark, you need to switch on a light. Then everything in the room will be revealed. All the non-luminous entities in the room will be revealed when you switch on the light. What did you need to see all these things in the room? You needed to add light. I want to see table. You need to add light. Look, literally, light has been added to it, then I can see the table. Light is reflected back to my eyes. What do you need to see the carpet? You have to add light to it. What do you need to see the ceiling? You have to add light to it. If I ask, what do you need to see the light? Will you have to say you have to add light to it? No. You don't need to switch on another light. The light reveals itself and illumines everything else. This is called Swaprakasha, self-luminous. Then you will say, how is this different from Vimarsha? It is different. See, this was in darkness. This is how it's different. This was in darkness. Light came and removed the darkness and revealed the existence of this thing. Was the light ever in darkness? No. So the self-revealing nature of light, this is called self-luminosity, Swaprakasha. It does not reveal itself by destroying darkness. It's not that it was unknown, covered in darkness, then it destroyed the darkness and revealed, like it reveals jada objects. Light does not reveal itself like that. Consciousness does not reveal itself like that. Consciousness reveals by shining. Further follow-up question might be, we're entering very subtle levels of analysis. Further follow-up question might be, wait a minute. Then to do anything, this consciousness of yours requires mind, senses, body, world. It depends, after all, for any experience on the jada. Your consciousness depends on the jada, does it not? And this is where Sankhya and Yoga, the system we talked about earlier, they will say yes. They are fundamentally dualistic systems. So you say consciousness depends on the jada, Purusha depends on Prakriti, and Prakriti depends on Purusha. How? They gave the classic example of a lame man and a blind man. The blind man can't see anything. The lame man can see but cannot walk. So what they do is the lame man climbs on the shoulders of the blind man, and the lame man gives directions to the blind man. Go this way, do this, and this way. And the blind man carries the lame. So the blind is nature, material nature, Prakriti, object, jada. And the consciousness, the sight, drishti, is given by consciousness itself, by Purusha, by Sakshi, by the Prakasha. And the two together, they depend on each other. One depends, consciousness depends on nature for any kind of action, any kind of activity, any kind of... and nature depends on consciousness for experience. Without consciousness, no experience is possible, no anubhava is possible. What we call life itself is, life means our living life, not the prana, the experience of life. That itself is not possible without consciousness. The same intuition, I think it was Einstein who said, in a much broader sense, he said, science without religion is blind. Religion without science is ineffective. I'm paraphrasing. I'm sure Einstein didn't say exactly this, something like that. So the two of them together. So consciousness and matter. What does Advaita say? Advaita says no, consciousness does not depend upon material nature. Chaitanya, Sakshi, does not depend upon Jada. You do not depend upon the Jada. What do you mean? In two senses. One, straightforward, easy to understand. Other one, very subtle, very difficult to understand. One, straightforward, easy to understand, because in Advaita Vedanta, consciousness is the ultimate reality. So what you call Jada, this, body, mind, senses, they are ultimately nothing but the effects, the products, the appearance of consciousness. Consciousness alone is appearing as this universe. So it's not that consciousness depends on the Jada, on the table, on the light, on the eyes, on the mind. No. It is mind, table, light, eyes, all of them depend on the Atman, consciousness and existence, for their own existence and for their illumination, satta and spurti. Do you follow this? So Atman, Brahman, consciousness, prakasha, is the reality on which the Jada depends, because the Jada is an appearance of that. Let me give an example. Dreams. I'll ask you a question. In our dreams, it could be that you're walking around and seeing nature, people, places. You're hearing beautiful music. You're tasting a nice cookie and smelling fragrant flowers. And you are walking. Now, if I ask, are you seeing this beautiful nature? Say yes. With what are you seeing? The first answer will be with eyes. But when we wake up, what will you say? That in my dream, with my eyes, I saw the beauties of nature. I heard beautiful music with my ears. No, you will say the whole thing was imagined in the mind. All the seeing, hearing, smelling, even the eyes and the ears also were imagined by the mind. In the dream, there is nothing but the dreaming mind. Is it that? It's not true. It is the mind by itself which appears to be seeing. It's the mind by itself which appears to be hearing. In the dream, they were not actual eyes, the physical eyes and ears and actual forms and sounds to be heard. Whole thing, the object and the subject and the instruments of knowledge, eyes and ears, they were all imagined in the mind, dreamt in the mind. True or not? So the mind does not depend, the dreaming mind does not depend on the eyes and ears in the dream to see or hear in the dream. No, it doesn't. It's the eyes and ears in the dream which depend on the dreaming mind. Exactly like that, here in this waking world, it is you, the awareness, upon which the entire waking world depends. Really, awareness does not depend on this waking world for anything.
It's just getting your head around that kind of thing is quite tough. It's okay
Yes,
to understand.
getting your head around that kind of thing is quite tough. However, one help might be, one practical help is to listen again and again, to study again and again. To study. Then it's an unfamiliar way of thinking. But these examples help. Listening to it again and again helps. And what helps powerfully is if you, as Americans say, keep it real. Keep it real means connect it to yourself. When I say I am witness consciousness, just saying that sounds awfully abstract. But when I say, forget the world, forget the body, forget thoughts, emotions, ideas, not remembering anything, not thinking of anything, not sensing anything, I still am. What is the nature of that I am? You begin to see, it's a fact. It's not a very abstract kind of thinking. It's what I am directly. One monk said this way, the way to understand Vedanta is like the child holding a nose. Yes. If you ask a child, what is a nose? The child will not say nose is that organ of olfactory organ of smell, and that through which our respiration goes on. He will not say that. The child will say nose is this. This is a nose. You must be like a child in Vedanta. What do you mean by pure consciousness? even if you can't explain it to anybody else, you can directly experience it for yourself. You're there all the time, you're there. Are you not conscious? And from consciousness, if you abstract objects, that is pure consciousness. It's there. It's you, literally you. It's the easiest of things to understand in one sense. But it's not an object, therefore it's not, because our understanding always tries to objectify, that's why we find it difficult. Okay, good. That gentleman first. And then we'll take a question from the internet audience. Then we'll come to you. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Namaste Swamiji, my name is Alex. First, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. My question is about freedom. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that all decisions are taken by nature and the conscious individual is fooled into thinking that I am the doer when Prakriti is responsible for all the work. Or at least that is my understanding. Then is the act of direct realization, the removal of ignorance, entirely subject to Prakriti? And given the role of Prakriti, is the process of striving to self-realization the foundation of Vedanta's ethical principles, or are those derived from something else?
Okay. This is a question which will come up every time you have any kind of spirituality or any kind of philosophy indeed. From the most ancient times till today, it's a question of free will, freedom. How free are we to do anything at all? First answer is, we are free. Because all our religion, morals, do's and don'ts, they're based on the assumption you're free to do the right thing and free to do the wrong thing. Otherwise, what's the point of giving instructions if I'm not free to follow the instructions? So we assume when you give instructions, when you teach a child to be moral, ethical, when you give spiritual instructions, sit like this, breathe like this, withdraw your yoga instructions. Although at the physical level, at the sensory level, the mental level, we must be free. Otherwise, these instructions don't make sense. Ethics doesn't make sense. What about law? Law doesn't make sense. When you punish the guilty, what is the assumption? That this person freely did the wrong thing. He could have chosen to do something, the right thing, did not, hence should be punished. When you reward somebody for bravery or for good deeds done, they freely did much more than they need have done. And their contributions are tremendous. We recognize how they use their freedom. We recognize or we punish how they misuse their freedom. Freedom. Otherwise, our whole legal system will not work. Our whole consumer system. You go to all the shops here. What do you see? Menu. So many types of coffee, so many types of cookies and donuts, and so many types of pizzas and whatnot. What does that imply? Freedom. Even things which directly impinge your freedom, advertisement, multi-billion dollar industry, what are they trying to do? Manipulate your freedom. Unless you're free to choose, there's no use advertising to you also. They're trying to restrict your freedom, but that way. So law, economics, justice system, ethics, morality, religion, they all assume freedom. They all assume freedom. Now you take a closer look. Is there really freedom? When you take a closer look, it seems no. There cannot be freedom. Science, if you have causality, cause and effect, this cause leads to that effect. Then whatever we are seeing here, they are all effects. There must be causes behind it. And those causes are effects of causes earlier. So whatever is here in this universe is determined by past causes. That means whatever we are doing is determined by past causes. Where is our freedom then? In principle, if you strictly follow causality, no freedom. Freedom should not be there. It's an aberration, an anomaly in causality. Freedom should be eliminated. Causality reigns. Causes have effects. Actions have consequences. Then religion comes and says, you have no free will. Everything is the will of God. Sri Ramakrishna himself says, even a leaf does not move without the will of God. Krishna says, as you quoted in the Bhagavad Gita. So what do you think? Then why do we say we have free will? All this you said, your free will is assumed by law, by economics. Then why do we assume at all? This is because we are fooled. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, which we just quoted from the, it says, Prakrityeva karmani kriyamanani sarvasha yapashyati tathatmanam akartaram sapashyati. Nature, Prakriti, is doing everything. This is again Sankhya philosophy, Patanjali Yoga philosophy. Everything is being done by nature. This is so much in tune with science, so much in tune with modern. Any doctor, physician, neuroscientist, they will all agree. That's all determined. Nature is doing everything. And you feel you are doing it, you'll be getting fooled. And Krishna also indicates what's the mechanism of being fooled. Ahankara vimodhatma. Deluded by the ego. The ego is a function of the mind which appropriates to itself the activities of the mind. So there is thinking going on, speaking going on, body is doing something. What the ego says is, I am thinking, I am speaking, I am speaking, I am walking, I am sitting. These are activities of the body. These are activities of the mind, of the speech. But the ego says, I am doing it. And we might say, am I not? Are you? Just imagine, when I say, I am speaking, I just said a sentence. How many things have to go right for it to happen? What tremendous activity in the neurons in the brain to recover from the memory, the English words, I am thinking, the sequence of those words, the meaning of those words. What tremendous activities go on from the brain to the nervous system, which activates the vocal cords, the tongue. If I am given charge of all that, will I be able to do it? No chance at all. Nothing at all. I won't be able to do a first thing. How to recover the memories of the words from my memory? I have no idea. No idea. It's all happening. It's being done and served before me. What do? Only one thing I do. I, the ego. I say, I am doing it. No, you are not. No, you are not. Nothing of this is being done by you. And the amazing thing is, modern neuroscience is now beginning to say the same thing. And this has got many people worried. Richard Sapolsky, that book Determined, it's the latest offering. There are other books like that also, but the latest, most comprehensive work recently, Richard Sapolsky, is Determined. He says, if you take neuroscience seriously at least, there's no possibility of free will. We are being fooled into thinking we have free will. Okay, now, all that's background. What about Vedanta? What does Vedanta say? And what about ethics in Vedanta? Is there free will according to Vedanta? The answer is nuanced. Vivekananda said free will is a misnomer in terms. By the time freedom there is only freedom. Atman is free, Brahman is free, the pure consciousness is free in itself. But when it becomes will, I will do this, I will even think this, I will say this. By the time it becomes will, it is already determined. It's far down in the chain of causality. When will, it becomes expressed as will. We were discussing this in the Gita class day for yesterday, when Krishna describes what is the field and the knower of the field. What is the field? Kshetra. And there he gives the Sankhyan philosophy of 24 tattvas, 24 principles. Basically, the 5 elements, air, water, fire, earth, and all of that. And then the subtle elements which constitute our mind, our intellect, our sense of ego, the powers of the senses, the powers of the body, the organs of action. These are all field. And then he says, Sanghatas Chetana Dhriti. He says, when the body-mind complex, this is the field, it is created, what happens? You, the consciousness, get reflected there. So there is a reflected consciousness here, illumining the consciousness which we feel right now. And then what happens? There is the ego. And this ego develops likes and dislikes. Sukha, dukkha, ichcha, dvesha, it says. Raga, dvesha, likes and dislikes. And then he adds will, dhriti. Will generates and then in this body-mind complex. I have likes and dislikes. What I like, those ones I will try to attain, will. What I dislike, those ones I will strive to overcome or get rid of, will. That's so far down in the chain of causation. So that will is determined by what? By likes and dislikes. Yes. Now in Vedanta we have freedom, and the interesting thing in Vedanta is that which has freedom, Atman or Brahman, that is the ultimate reality. So the ultimate reality is free. Our real nature is freedom. And the whole of this, from that perspective, is an expression of that freedom. Within this game, there is no freedom. But the whole game is your expression, and you are free. It's like the director of the movie is free. In the movie, no character has freedom. But you are the director, luckily. You are free. And this whole thing is your expression. You are painting this picture until it's complete, and you see, and what does it reveal? Your picture which you have painted is self-portrait. It's a selfie. I was once thinking I should give a talk, the ultimate selfie. Enlightenment is the ultimate selfie, which shows us what we are. So that's the meaning of freedom in Vedanta. If you want a more precise answer, I recommend Professor Arindam Chakravarti's Why Pray to a God Who Can Hear the Anklets on an Ant's Feet. He's quoting from Sri Ramakrishna's Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So there he analyzes, he first of all does a quick survey of all theories of determinism, no free will. All theories of libertarianism, there is free will. All theories of compatibilism, there is free will and there is no free will, both are compatible. And then he comes to, so what do we do now? What's the point of it? What does Vedanta say? He says, his answer is very fine and nuanced. This is the best answer I've found to this question so far. He says 3 levels. First level, yes, there is free will. We all feel free will. Second level, if you analyze neuroscience, philosophy, spirituality, no free will. Third level, so what? What do we do? Acknowledge, use the appearance of free will, the feeling that we have. We can't, even if we come to the conclusion there's no free will, we'll still act as if we have free will. So use the appearance of free will to acknowledge that there is no free will. That is a continuous act of surrender to God. As long as we have these questions, we are definitely Jiva, sentient being. We are not absolute Brahman. Brahman doesn't have this question. There's no question of will in Brahman. Brahman is free. So as an individual being, when the question of freedom, free will is there for me, the best answer from Vedanta is acknowledge first of all that, or use the illusion of free will to acknowledge there is no free will. It is all you. It sums it up in Sri Ramakrishna's little formula. Naham, naham, tuhu, tuhu. Not I, thou my Lord, thou my Lord. You can do this because you feel your free will. But your knowledge is that there is no free will. So put them together. Question from the internet audience.
We have 3 questions on deep sleep, Swamiji.
It's going to put you to sleep.
The first one is from 19-year-old Rishi Singh, who asks, if Brahman is already fulfilled, then what is the need of expressing itself as Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagat? How can we confidently say that we are aware in deep sleep? The mind can also simply create a fake memory of being in a deep sleep, just to fill the void of that time when you were actually in deep sleep, but were not aware of it. Similar to a comatose person who recovers and believes that he was asleep only for a day. Then we have Nick Gallagher, who asks,
let's take them one by one.
Okay.
These are subtle questions. Actually, Rishi has asked a 2-part question. One is, what's the point of the absolute reality, Brahman, if that's the only reality? Why is it expressing itself as this triangle of Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara? The world, us, and God. The world exists and I exist. This much is clear to everybody. That there is a God, for that you need religion. Basically, there is a cause of this world. So these 3 things, Ishvara, Jiva, Jagat. And according to Advaita Vedanta, all 3 are actually, there is only one underlying reality, it is Brahman. Why? Why would Brahman do this? If Brahman is self-fulfilled, there's nothing that Brahman wants. Why would Brahman do it? I think I've answered this question many, many times. But still, the question has to be asked and answered, because this is a deep question which will come. Anybody who studies Vedanta for a while will come to this question. So if I am already Brahman, if Brahman is the only reality, if I'm already Brahman, then why all this? If Brahman is the only reality, why is all this appearing? Same question. If there's only one reality, why is the many appearing? You can't deny the many is appearing to you. You can call it Maya, appearance, but then even then you can ask, why is it appearing at all? So this question will come. What are the answers? Many answers have been given across the world's religions. In Vedanta also you'll get many answers. One answer is, Brahman appears as all of this for our benefit. We are the beneficiaries. We are on this journey of spiritual unfoldment and development. For that we need a world in which we can work out our spiritual development. We need a school basically to grow. To grow morally, spiritually, lifetime after lifetime we are growing. So this is one answer, but it's a very kindergarten answer. Because you'll say, you're already assuming that we exist as individual beings. We're assuming that we are on this journey. And then God is just helping us by giving us, making a school for us. So the second answer, a deeper answer is, no, you're right. God is fulfilled. There is no need for God to do anything like Brahman is fulfilled, let's say. Because the moment you say God, what happens is, the three have already come. God, world and us. Then only God makes sense. Do you see? You can't have only God by himself, herself or itself. What is it a God of then? Ishvara literally means the ruler, literally means the God of all things. But if there are no all things at all, what is it a God of then? What is it an Ishvara of? Ishvara means the controller. What does it control if there is nothing to control? So, moment you say Ishvara, Bhagavan, Saguna Brahman, already you are assuming world and jivas. But at all, why Ishvara, world and jivas, these three, he's asking, why at all of that? The answer is, you're right. Brahman doesn't need anything. It is Leela, it's a divine play. It's the play of Brahman. How does that help? In play, you don't ask. You don't ask, why are you kicking the ball? The answer is play. Oh, but why are you playing? I like it. Oh, but why do you like it? There's no answer to that. I like it, that's all. It's play. So play subverts the causality question. Why? You need a rational answer for that. It's like asking somebody, you see somebody dancing and you ask, where are you going? I'm not going anywhere. I'm dancing. So the dancer is not going somewhere. It's a wrong question to ask. There also one might have an objection. Because this is a poetic way of speaking. Play is a very human thing. Play is a human thing. Children play, human beings play, animals also play, the higher animals also play. But why would then absolute reality be play? What do you mean play of Brahman? Why would Brahman play at all? It's poetic, it's sweet to think about it that way, but why? So there, if you want a more rational answer, one answer is Maya. What is the answer of Maya? The one did not become the many. It remains the one. It only appears as the many. Why did you do all those things in your dream? The answer will be, I did not. Whatever happened in the dream, is the very definition of a dream is that it did not happen. It just looked like that. This is the Vedantic theory of Vivarta. Vivarta means apparent transformation. It looks like the cause became the effect, but it did not. It looks like the rope has become a snake. It has not. It looks like Brahman has become Ishvara Jiva Jagat. It has not. Brahman remains as Brahman. You see the answer here? In reality, it has not. It appears to be. This is called Vivarta, apparent transformation. This also is problematic. You can push this question even further. You might say, why does it appear so? I understand. It has not become. Brahman is only one. This triangle, Ishvara, Jiva, Jagat, you see how it has taken a modern form. Many years ago, I heard a talk, brilliant talk by a great physicist who got the Nobel Prize just 2 years back, Roger Penrose? Yes. Roger Penrose. In Calcutta. He was visiting Calcutta, and the British Council had got him for a lecture tour in Calcutta. And the senior monk took me, I was a novice, and some other, those who might be interested in this stuff, they took me to listen to his talk. So he was giving a talk, and he's very old-fashioned that way. No PowerPoint and things like that. He was using OHP. Most people won't know. The older people will know what's an OHP. Overhead, the transparencies, overhead projector. And so he was drawing sketches on that and was being projected there. He drew a triangle. And the triangle was human being, mind, mathematics, universe. Universe, human being, mathematics. In place of God, is put mathematics. Mathematics is supposed to be the mind of God. If you understand mathematics, you understand the mind of God. And human being, us, and the universe. Jiva Jagatishvara, same thing. And he says, the deepest question in science today, if you are at the cutting edge of science, is what is called the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics. How is it that we are able to understand the universe? How is it mathematics, which is an activity of the human mind, can predict something in the cosmos? What is the link? I am thinking something, and the cosmos is behaving like that. Galaxies are spinning that way, quarks are behaving that way. I am thinking something and predicting, and I am discovering fundamental particles. By mathematics. Mathematics predicted it. And then you make CERN and all of that, and you discover the Higgs boson. How? How is it something completely unseen, utterly inhuman in the scale of existence? So tiny that we cannot even conceive of it. Our mathematics, mind working through mathematics, captures something which nature reproduces. How? Why? And he stopped there, of course. Vedanta will give the answer that because these three are not separate, there is an underlying reality which is appearing as these three, as the human mind, you, as the world that you experience, and as God of the mind of God. All three are underlying, there is one reality, Brahman, existence, consciousness, place. Last answer is the answer which I like. It's a cute answer. But in English, one might say being precious. It says, the answer is this: what else can poor Brahman do? You're asking, why does Brahman appear as the Jiva Jagat Ishvara? Now there are only two options. Either Brahman need not appear, or it does appear. If Brahman does not appear, you will say, what a useless Brahman, doesn't do anything at all. Brahman is existence itself. Can it not appear as existing things? Can't it at least be a table and a chair and a... Yes, it can. So if Brahman appears as existing things, Brahman is pure consciousness. Can Brahman not appear as conscious experiences of pleasure and pain and understanding and memory and desire and perception? Yes, Brahman obliges. Okay, I will appear. Brahman is Ananda itself. Can it not be experienced as, Sukha Dukkha, pleasure and pain in this world? Brahman said, all right, knock yourself out. Brahman appears as the world. Then we complain, why did Brahman appear as the world? We grumble. What is the need? We are in so much trouble. Brahman created this world. Somerset Maugham, the English author, novelist, he writes with his dry humor, he says, one feels Brahman could have left well enough alone. Need not have done all this. But there are only two options, 1 or 0, yes or no. Brahman is giving both. Look at our own lives. Here there is something. In our dreams also there is something. In deep sleep, nothing. Both are manifestations, either as unmanifest or as manifest. You remain the same. If you want nothing, good, deep sleep is there. You want something, waking is there. Neither is good, then you are there, Brahman. All right, then the next question was deep sleep. We have answered that deep sleep question. It is not a false memory. It is the latent state, the unmanifest state. That's what is deep sleep. The second question? On the question number 3, there's
Right. Nick Gallagher. I have an intellectual understanding of how consciousness is the ever-present, unchanging reality. And it's because of this that we are able to experience the changing nature of outside phenomena as they present themselves within awareness. The analogy of deep sleep and dreaming is often used. My experience of deep sleep is not that of an unchanging awareness. I seem to disappear in deep sleep. When I wake up, I realize I am still alive, but I have been sleeping when I have thoughts and look at the clock, seeing that time has passed. I don't feel aware during periods of deep sleep. Therefore, it seems to me that awareness is much more reliant upon my physical brain than Vedanta claims it to be. My real-world experience is that when my brain is not turned on in deep sleep, I am unaware. What proof do I have that I am aware of nothing, as I have heard you say before, if I have no recollection or experience of this nothingness? And there's one other question.
Okay.
From Sokin Sarkar. If deep sleep is the experience of absence, then what is death?
All right. So this is a probing question on the Vedanta position on deep sleep. In deep sleep, so here we are aware there are objects, jada, and we are aware of it. Suppose all objects were taken away. There is an absence of objects. I don't see, hear, smell, taste, touch. I don't think, I don't remember, I don't feel, I don't desire, I don't hate, I don't understand, I don't remember, I don't forget. None of them, all of them are shut down. Am I the awareness gone? Or am I there but there is no object for awareness? So here, right in front of me, right here, there is a lot of light. You can't see, it just seems blank. But now see, doesn't it shine? Golden? If I remove it, is it shining here? No, right in between. Nothing. But if I put it there, it shines. You're not in seeing my hand. You say, but you're showing your hand. I'm showing the light reflected from my hand. If I remove it, the light is right there, but you don't see it at all. You need an object to reflect light. On that analogy, what I'm saying is, what Vedanta says is, you are prakasha, you are awareness. But in deep sleep, because the senses are shut down, because the mind is shut down, there's nothing to be aware of. There's this blankness. Now, the problem here is, our idea of awareness is so connected with the mind. When the mind shuts down, we feel, I am not there. This has to be understood in depth. Otherwise, we will say that deep sleep means nothing, coma means nothing, general anesthesia means nothing. I was speaking with one of the leading neuroscientists in the world today, Dr. Anil Seth, just the other day. He is the head of the neuroscience department in the University of Sussex. And a very, very nice conversation, very nice conversation. One of the arguments he used, and any neuroscientist these days, most neuroscientists will use, is that in deep sleep, in general anesthesia, you're not there. Consciousness disappears, the self disappears. You're just not there. We can knock out all consciousness. By the way, when he used the language when the brain is turned off in deep sleep. Brain is not turned off in deep sleep. And Dr. Anil Seth also said, every neuroscientist knows this. Plenty of activity goes on in the brain. Generally, turning off would mean death. But even neuronal activity, plenty of neuronal activity goes on in deep sleep. Much less so maybe in coma, or different kinds of coma. So brain is not turned off. That's also an interesting argument. If consciousness is a product of brain activity, there's plenty of brain activity in deep sleep. There is also brain activity in general anesthesia. Plenty of it. All right, that's coming from the physical side. From the inner side, what we will say? We will say that what general anesthesia does, what deep sleep does, what some forms of coma will do, only some forms. Other forms of coma, the person is fully aware inside. People don't know. Sometimes, horribly, people are aware under general anesthesia. including operation. They just can't say anything. They're being cut and pierced, and but they can't say anything because all the motor organs are frozen, but you're aware inside. So, but even assuming that all objects of awareness are gone, that's what general anesthesia does. It does not knock you out. It knocks out every jada padartha, every object of awareness. There is no pain or pleasure. There are no perceptions, no memories, no ideas. Why this is a difficult thing for modern consciousness studies people to understand is because they do not distinguish between consciousness and mind. Certainly the mind is switched off in deep sleep. Certainly the mind is switched off in general anesthesia. By the way, another thing, brain and consciousness. You can cut into the brain and be fully conscious at the same time, and you won't feel anything because there are no nerve endings in the brain. So many, I heard, it sounds gruesome, but many brain operations are done when you're fully conscious, and you won't feel anything at all. In fact, the neuroscientist wants you, the surgeon wants you to be conscious during brain operation, so that if you cut something, did you lose the power to speak? Did you suddenly become blind? Did you do this? They'll be aware that you're not removing something very essential. Huh? So, this is the crucial answer. Why we feel, he writes, I feel I don't exist during deep sleep. I don't feel that I was aware of nothing in deep sleep because two reasons. One reason is what you think of as awareness or consciousness is the mind. That was not there in deep sleep. That was definitely switched off or in a hibernating state. And that's why you felt I was not there. If one does the Drigdrishya Vivek or the Panchakosha Vivek or Avasthatraya Vivek, any of these Vedantic procedures thoroughly, then one will begin to get an appreciation of what is meant by consciousness apart from mind. Consciousness in itself apart from objects. Then at least the intellectual possibility that in deep sleep I am still there. Even if you feel. You see, when you say, I felt I was not there in deep sleep, who says that? Mind. The moment the mind wakes up, it says, I was not there. Of course you are not there. You are not there. But that doesn't mean I was not there. I, the witness of the mind. I am witness of the absence of the mind. I am witness of presence of the mind. The absence of the mind was also witnessed by me. I was there. The mind says, I did not know anything there. But if the mind was switched off, what is it that did not know anything there? Things like this. So our way of thinking is, I woke up and I saw time has passed, so I must have slept. I was in deep sleep. We don't do that. Even the person who wrote it doesn't do that. You might see the clock and say, oh, I slept for an hour. I slept for 2 hours. I fell asleep. But just to the intuition of having fallen asleep, we don't need to look at the clock. You have a clear feeling that there was a moment of gap in between. Even the most inadvertent sleep, you felt I slept off. And then I'm awake now. What noticed that sleeping? You see, if there was no experience of deep sleep, we would not even talk about it. Every civilization, every culture in the world has words for deep sleep, has descriptions of the experience of deep sleep. It's an experience. If it is an experience, then consciousness must be there. Deep sleep is a good way of distinguishing consciousness from mind. If you think there is nothing in deep sleep, you're talking about the mind. If you understand that I am there as bare awareness in deep sleep, as a something in deep sleep, that much you are aware, that much you can at least say, then you are aware of the distinction between yourself and the mind. Another reason why deep sleep seems so mysterious and nothing, because our idea of something isn't something, object, jada. If all jada is removed, then nothing. So there was nothing. Even that experience of nothing, it's an experience. It's not an absence of experience, it's an experience of absence. it will not be resolved so easily, because our testimony seems to run, our experience seems to run contrary to the claims of Vedanta. Vedanta says our experience seems to run, my experience seems to tell me there was nothing in deep sleep. Vedanta says you have to think a little more clearly. In waking, not in deep sleep. You have to think about deep sleep a little more clearly and keep thinking about it. You will begin to see it is also a kind of experience, an experience of absence. Waking and dreaming are experience of presence. Gross objects present, waking. Subtle objects present, dreaming. No object present, deep sleep. The blankness itself can be considered an object. Some schools of Vedanta, Panchadashi considers the blankness itself to be an object. Avabuddham tada tamaha. In deep sleep you experienced. Oh, what did I experience? An object. Oh, what object was there in deep sleep? Tamaha, darkness. Tama bodho bhavet smritihi. Panchadashi says that the experience of blankness in deep sleep is like a memory when I wake up. When I wake up, there's a memory, quote unquote memory. Memory requires the mind, but mind was sleeping there, so it can't be technically memory. But something was experienced, and a trace of it was left in Ajnana itself, in the Anandamaya Kosha, in the Karana Sharira, which the mind grasps and says, there was a phase after dreaming, there was a complete blankness. That is deep sleep. And that's an experience. The consciousness was there. And if you cannot accept consciousness in deep sleep, then you are unable to distinguish between mind and consciousness. You're still stuck on mind. What's the difference between deep sleep and death? In death, one might be fully conscious. Near-death experiences show that one might be conscious when there is physical, biological death. In death, it might be like a dream. Experiences might be there. Death might be like deep sleep. And then we awaken from deep sleep, and then you are in heaven or the other place. Other experiences will come. So those are also experiences. So death is might be like deep sleep for a while, but might be like dream also for a while. Post-death. All right. Yes. You have a question. Please come here and tell us your name and ask the question. And make it brief.
Okay. Hello, good morning. My question, although it might be a rudimentary one, relates to applying discernment in the practice of Shavana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Recently, I'm noticing my efforts in the first two have waned, and perhaps this diminishment is seeping into Nididhyasana as well. So if these efforts have changed in their intensity, does that mean even though they felt inherent or intrinsic, they were never real or true to begin with?
One reason of lack of intensity might be just the mind. Any kind of spiritual practice that we do, whether it's japa or meditation or worship or prayer or Vedantic inquiry, yogic meditation, any kind of spiritual practice that we do, it will go through waves, ups and downs. That's the very nature of the mind. It cannot hold on to something with unending intensity for years, months and years. It will wane. But don't give up. One must not give up. It will again take an upward turn. If one gives up, then a lot of time and effort is wasted. You will pick it up again, but a lot of time and effort is lost then. So hold on to it, even if the spiritual practice, not just Shravana, any other spiritual practice, even if it seems mechanical, even if you think I'm just going through the paces, that intensity is gone, still do it. You'll see the intensity will come back again. Don't worry about the intensity of the mind. I am a spiritual seeker. I am a sadhaka. I am the Atman itself. What else will I do except spiritual practice? So, even if Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana seem to be a little low-key and not going at the intensity, fine, continue with it. Always supplement it with other spiritual practices. Meditation, repetition of mantra, chanting. If you do a ritualistic puja, little worship, that's also great. Service is very great. Going out of oneself. All these practices are sort of private practice. But service is what takes us into contact with the vast, with the Virat. with the people around us. And that's a great blessing in our lives. So the answer is yes. Spiritual practice will go through waves, ups and downs. Don't bother about it. It will never be really very great all the time. That can't be. There's something wrong if everybody is a spiritual practitioner has a big smiley face continuously throughout. No, sometimes yes, goes well. Sometimes it doesn't. So again, it will go well. Continue. All right. You have a question? Please come here and we'll end with that question. Okay. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Pranam Swamiji.
Yes.
My name is Manjula Vani.
You can make the microphone a little closer to your mouth. Yes.
My name is Manjula Vani.
Yes.
My question is, what is breathing? Is breathing Atman? And my second question is, when somebody dies, we wish that may God give peace to the departed soul. Now, if soul is Atman, and if Atman is Brahman, as I understand, and Brahman is, consciousness, unlimited, so how can it depart? That's my question.
It's interesting that you asked the question about breath.
Thank you.
Why? In ancient Greece, the word for breath, I don't know how to pronounce it, Pneuma. Does anybody know how to pronounce that? Pneuma? From which pneumatic has come. So, that also stood for soul. Over time, when Greek philosophy was absorbed into Christian theology, the importance of breath sort of faded to the background, and soul, the spiritual soul, became important. That became central. But breath and soul were connected, both in ancient India and in ancient Greece. Why they were connected? Because soul has two meanings. The word soul has two meanings. One is Brahman or Atman, as you said, pure consciousness. But one is also Jivatman, the sentient being. Other than the physical body, whatever else we are is called the soul. Physical body dies. But the soul, there the soul includes Atman, pure consciousness, Karana Sharira, causal body, Sukshma Sharira, subtle body. So that is the soul. Pure consciousness plus causal body plus subtle body. What we call breath, prana, is very much, it's the constituent of the subtle body. And that's the most, prana is also very interesting because it's the one which is automatic in our physiological processes, but we can also voluntarily catch hold of it, the breathing part of it, pranayama. So the prana, breathing, is identified with the soul, or is an identifier for the soul. For which soul? Jivatma. Why? Because prana is part of subtle body. And subtle body, Karana Sharir, and consciousness together are called the Jivatma, subtle, or one meaning of the word soul. The other meaning of the word soul is pure consciousness itself, the spiritual soul, Atman. Now, when somebody dies physically, physical death, what do we say in India? Pran nikal gaye uske. The prana has gone out of this person. That means the subtle body has left. Prana goes away means subtle body has left with the prana. That means this body is no longer a living body. Soul has gone. Prana goes means soul will go with it. Soul means the Jivatman, the causal body, subtle body, and pure consciousness. Pure consciousness will not go anywhere. According to Advaita, it's always there, shining. Another way of putting this is, in English we say, the dead person has given up the ghost. In India we say the prana, the sukshma sharir. What do we say? Ve chale gaye, that person has gone. In English it's the reverse. The body is there and the body has given up the ghost. But the meaning is the same. The ghost here means the subtle body, or jivatma. To sum up, my answer to your question is, The breath is very closely connected to the subtle body. So sometimes breath was taken as the soul or as an indicator of the soul. Living being means soul is there in this body. Dead body means soul has left. How do you know? When the soul is there, subtle body is there, therefore breathing is going on. When the soul is not there, gone away, subtle body has gone away, prana has gone away. Breathing stops and all the physiological processes which continued this body slowly fade away. That's the death of the body. Now the second question was, Brahman. If the soul is Brahman, why do we pray? May God gives peace to the soul. Soul is Brahman. But two meanings of soul. Atman or Brahman is the one meaning of the soul. The other meaning is the subtle body, causal body, the Jivatma. Jivatma, for that Jivatma we pray to God. That as long as we are not enlightened, as long as we are individual, we will continue to be a Jivatma. We'll go from this life to another life to another life. And for that departed, literally departed, for that departed person, we pray, may God give peace to that soul. In Hindi sometimes we say Sadgati. A higher destiny, spiritual destiny. May they attain higher births, better births. May they go to various heavens and come back as a spiritual person in next life. This is the prayer we give. Should we take one more question? Okay, one more question. Slowly.
This is the question from the 16-year-old boy, Swamiji.
Oh.
His Gaurav Biswas is 16 years old from Assam, India. I have been following your sessions and lectures for almost a year now, finding immense solace and wisdom in your teachings. However, I am currently struggling with a deep sense of helplessness and anxiety due to the distressing events unfolding in our country. It has been increasingly difficult to adhere to the principles of non-dual Vedanta without being affected by the troubling circumstances around us. The political and social unrest in West Bengal, environmental and social movements in Ladakh, judicial and legal concerns in Pune, where wealth and influence corrupt justice, terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir, loss of educational integrity, infrastructure failures destroying cities, climate change affecting the poor, and the recent attack on the innocent medical student in Calcutta. While my intellect tells me to remain detached, my heart is deeply troubled by the suffering around me, though I know both exist in my mind. I've also contemplated the idea of karma yoga, offering selfless service to those in need, yet I struggle to understand how one can perform such actions when individual efforts seem negligible in the face of such widespread issues. Swami Vivekananda's commentary on karma yoga suggests that striving to correct the world's evils may be childish, yet he himself tirelessly worked for the betterment of society and motherland. So my question is, how can we practically apply the principles of karma yoga and Vedanta in order to remain unaffected by the world's challenges while still contributing meaningfully to the betterment of our motherland and the world, knowing that good and evil will always coexist? I humbly request your guidance on this matter.
Very well written. So to answer questions like this, I always refer to one book. Among the many books, there's one book on my table all the time. And that book is the annual report of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission, the general report. It talks about the hundreds of schools and dispensaries and hospitals and relief activities during flood and famine and earthquake, and the educational services, the medical services, the rural development work being done. That is the first answer to suffering. Action. On whatever scale. You might do it at your individual level, or you might do it at an organizational, national, international. What is the United Nations? An answer to your question. So this is the first answer. The first answer is one must do something. Not just philosophical reasoning about it. But then, as he has noted, even if you do it, he said the individual efforts are negligible. No, individual efforts are not negligible. First of all, individual efforts have to be made. Why? Whether negligible or not, because it's the right thing to do. Second, they are not negligible. They can take on a huge dimension. A lot of the great work being done across the world by non-profits and many organizations, they all started as individual efforts. If you are paralyzed by the enormity of the suffering and the relative helplessness of the individual, then you will not take any action. One must swing into action. I remember this young man, he takes care of 5,000 plus children who are underprivileged. Many of them are orphans and so on and so forth. And a lot of other work he does, tremendous amount of work in India. How did he start? He was a graduate of the top business school in India, the top engineering school and business school in India. All his friends went on to multinational jobs in various countries in India and abroad. And he said, somebody asked him, how did you decide to do this work, this tremendous work which you are doing? He said, I didn't. I couldn't decide what to do with my life. And then he said, this is the intelligence of the approach. He said, if I can't decide what to do with my life, I thought, let me think, what is it that I don't want to do with my life? So do I want to do a job like my friends, earn a lot of money, travel the world? Not particularly. Do I want to be an academic like my professors? Not particularly. And then he said, one day he saw these children playing on the pavement outside in the street. He said, these children need me right now. And I must do something for them. And he took action. He straight away took those children, took a small room on rent, and started working to pay for them to take care of those children. Tutoring other students and getting some money. That's how he started, with 3 kids. Now more than 5,000 kids. There are 2 interesting points here. First of all, I asked him, how do you get money? For 3 kids, you could tutor other students and take care of 3 kids. But for 5,000 kids, he said, now I don't ask for money at all. I believe it is Swami Vivekananda's work. If he wants it, it will continue. And it does. People and organizations across the world help me. This is one. Second question or second observation. Notice he took action. People have come to me. Plans, projects. Somebody came to me, some big plan for the welfare of underprivileged people in Calcutta, and said, Swami, the problem is setting up seed money is necessary, and then the legal framework is necessary, and then you need backing from the corporates, the politicians or whatever. I said, nonsense, you don't want to do it. And then I gave the example of this boy, this young man who had no idea at all how to take care of children, who had no idea at all about where the money will come from, what are the legal proceedings, what are the corporate structures involved, nothing at all. He just felt a need to help and started helping. And look now. Whereas you're considering the problems and you're paralyzed into inactivity. I asked him, what have that young man who had come with projects, what have you done so far? He has got some PowerPoint or something like that much. He's done nothing else. I've not actually helped anybody yet. Get out there. The doing will teach you how to do it. And start doing it. Vivekananda said, it's not from the intellect. It is from the heart. Everything begins with a feeling. Somebody asked this young man that these 5,000 kids you're taking care of, how did you get this idea? He said it didn't start with an idea. It started with a feeling. The ideas came later. And the plans came later. But it started with a feeling. Now, individual is helpless. What can one do in face of such huge suffering? This young man gave me the answer. He said, somebody asked him, where do you get motivation to take care of so many little children? He said, I have got an intrinsic motivator and an extrinsic one. The extrinsic one is, look, I started with 3 kids and became 5 and 50 and 500 and 5,000. So good. it's growing and it's all doing well. But the intrinsic motivator was, this is the right thing to do. Suppose I did not succeed. Suppose I made no difference at all. I would still do it. It's not that I will look for something else to do. I would still do it because it needs to be done. These children need to be taken care of. So I would still do it. So they see, the right thing to do. I am small and helpless. What can I do? Even if I do anything, it will still make no dent to the world. Doesn't matter. It's still the right thing to do. Okay. After having done all this is the first answer. The second answer is he himself said, good and evil will always coexist. But Swami Vivekananda still worked. It's childish to think that the world will be set right by me. Vivekananda said, he gave the example of the dog's curly tail. Yeah? So there was once, the person was doing meditation to fulfill his desires, and God appeared before him. And so what do you want? Give me a genie, a ghost, a powerful demon who can do everything that I want. It's actually something that stands for the human mind. God said, all right, I'll give it to you. But remember, it'll do anything that you want. But remember, on condition, you always have to give it something to do. Otherwise, it's going to come and break your neck. It's going to snap your neck. So he said, all right, I have plenty of things to be done. The ghost appeared before me. Command me, master. God has told me to serve you. And this man said, give me lots of money. Done. Immediately, lots of money came to him. Make me a beautiful house. Done. Huge mansion. A sumptuous meal served by servants in gold and silver. Done. Meal. And this man began to sweat. And he said, and then he had a list, your Amazon shopping cart. He ran through them. Everything is done. And by the time the moment he hesitated, the ghost began to crack his knuckles. That's our mind, basically. Unless you employ it well, it's going to snap our own neck. It destroys us. So this man was in terror. And then he ran for his life. But the ghost wouldn't let him. He's chasing him. Let me get my hands on you. I'm going to snap your neck. Give me something to do. Give me something to do. And he ran. He couldn't think of anything more. Finally, he came to God and said, God, help me. What happened? I can't think of, all my desires have been fulfilled. I gave him some useless desires also. Those also are fulfilled. Done. Now I can't think of anything. And look, he's coming to snap my neck. So God said, all right, that's easily done. Give him this dog, the curly tail. Tell him to straighten out the curly tail of the dog. So Vivekananda apparently told this story so well, he would have the entire audiences in splits. So, and he gave it to the ghost and said, straighten out the curly tail of the dog. And the ghost said, that's easily done, that's nothing. And he straightened it out. The moment he let it go, it became curly again. And the ghost carefully straightened it out and left it again, it became curly. And the ghost carefully again did it. And the ghost said, oh my, I am a veteran ghost. I've never been put to so much trouble in all the millennia of my existence. I've never had such trouble. And the legend has it, is still straightening out the curly tail of her. And that's what we are doing when we are trying to straighten out the world. Then why do it? Vivekananda said, first beneficiary is ourselves, we ourselves. In trying to straighten out the world, we get straightened out ourselves. We get straightened out. I remember this monk long ago. I was a novice. And he was talking about another monk. He says, look at that monk. All of us, we are here in this world, and especially in the ashram, in the Ramakrishna mission, in the spiritual life. Have you seen a screw? A screw has these, what do you call them? Threads. If you push them through a machine which, rubs it out, it sort of polishes it, slowly the threads get evened out and become smooth. Smooth like a needle it becomes. So we need to we have a lot of these knots in us, and life smoothens it out. And especially if you do spiritual practice, you are in an ashram, you're leading a spiritual life in some way, either in ashram or in the household, it smoothens out. Then we become straight. Before that, we have many of these little knots and little problems in ourselves, complications within ourselves. That gets straightened out by life. By going through this, if you do it sincerely, it gets straightened out much faster. And then the reason he said all this to me was, he said, now look at that monk. There was this very wonderful young monk. He said, there are these rare few who come into this life, into this machine, straight. They're already straightened out. See how pure and simple he is. He also said, such people don't live long. And it's interesting, that monk died when he was quite young. So we are getting straightened out. The answer to him is, in order to get straightened out, we must do this work. Why do this work? Because it is right, it should be done. Why do this work? Because individuals can make a big difference. But ultimately, spiritually, why do this work? Because it straightens us out. Vivekananda said, I'm going to put into work a machine. I'm going to set up a machine. He called it a purity drilling machine, which will purify individuals who go through it. The whole spiritual enterprise of the Ramakrishna movement, of which we are all a part. We get into it with a lot of threads. We come out of it more or less straightened out and polished. With that prayer to Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sharada and Swami Vivekananda, let me do a peace chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you so much. Oh, there is the basket? Yes, come. As usual, we have gone up more than half an hour beyond time. Just by the way, the very well-known spiritual master from India, Sri M. Some of you may have heard of him, Sri M. He is coming to the United States, and he has kindly agreed to give a talk here on Friday on Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita class this Friday will be given by Sri M himself. Same time, but you'll have to register. It's free registration, but because we don't have enough seats. But even if you are unable to register, you can still watch it online.
So going back to the deep sleep question, Swamiji, the questioner was asking, what proof